for it, didn't you? You looked at last week's schedule and you saw a bunch of games that you thought weren't going to be as interesting as the Texas versus Michigan game, and you thought it was going to be a crap week in the sport. The sport doesn't have crap weeks. They're trying to tell you the same thing again this week. Do not believe them. This week's going to be a whole lot of fun. Welcome, college football fans, to Fourth and Goal. We don't believe in sleepy weekends in college football or a light slate of games. They tried to make you believe that last week, and if you did, you were wrong. And you're going to be wrong this week if you believe the same thing. But before we go into what this week has to offer, we got to talk about what happened this past Saturday, because a lot went down. Going into this past Saturday, many people around the country were believing that it was finally Notre Dame's year, that their win in Texas A&M proved that the Fighting Irish were ready to compete for national titles. And then they lost to Northern Illinois at home. While your gut reaction to seeing such a stunning upset would be, this game was entirely influenced by turnovers, that's not the case. Northern Illinois was just a better team than Notre Dame that game. They outrushed Notre Dame. They had more yards per pass, and they had a better third down conversion rate in Notre Dame's own building. Do you remember what we said last week about Notre Dame probably having a clear path to the playoffs? You don't remember? Good. So don't go back and check, because we actually didn't say that at all. We didn't. They're definitely losing to USC now.
I bet they'll probably lose to Florida State this season, too.
Oh my gosh. Hey, Stats Info, look, when you make a joke, can you at least make it believable? Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah. Thanks. What a difference that stealing signs can make. Michigan found that out the hard way in Ann Arbor this past weekend, losing to Texas by a final score of 31-12. And I promise you, watching that game live, it was a lot worse than that final score indicates. Michigan's defense, which was expected to be one of the premier units in the country this year, got absolutely gashed in the first half, giving up 24 points to the Longhorns before Texas realized they could just run out the clock. They had Michigan in a sleeper hold, and they decided to put the Wolverines out of their misery for the remaining 30 minutes. While this dominant win for Texas was proof that the oil money was finally working in Austin, the noteworthy fall from grace that Michigan has suffered has left the title of best program in the Big Ten wide open for Ohio State to take, since clearly Penn State and Oregon don't want to. Two of the more unexpected struggle games that you will see this entire season happened this past Saturday, as the Oregon Ducks and the Alabama Crimson Tide struggle to put away their respective Group of Six competition until late in the game. Oregon's lackluster play along their line of scrimmage was the most noticeable shortcoming of their performance. Boise State's star running back Ashton Giante ran for 192 yards at 7.7 yards per carry and scored 3 touchdowns. The Ducks, on the other hand, managed a measly 109 yards for 3 yards a carry and 1 rushing touchdown. These absolutely woeful line of scrimmage numbers, paired with Dan Lanning's propensity to go for it on fourth down at the most Lane Kiffin moments imaginable, makes the Ducks look like a team that will not hold up under their more physical Big Ten schedule. While Alabama played equally as terrible as Oregon did for the first 3 quarters of their game, they used an offensive explosion from their skill players in the fourth quarter to score 21 unanswered and finally put this game on ice. The ultimate conclusion of this game left many feeling conflicted about the Crimson Tide, with a lot of people pointing out that the offensive line struggles and Jalen Milroe's inability to complete an intermediate pass or take a snap seemed awfully reminiscent of their struggles on offense last year, while others wanted to point out that when they subbed in their starting tackle, they were able to get the ball rolling and score at will. And if only there was a game coming up like this week that could kind of give us a better measuring stick. Oh, wait! Kicking off at noon Eastern Time this Saturday will be Alabama at Wisconsin, a game in which Wisconsin coach Luke Fickell will be looking for his first signature win in his new program, while the Alabama Crimson Tide will be looking to prove that there's nothing wrong here, there's nothing going on here, everything's fine, and we are not listening to Georgia in a few weeks. While many around the country are hoping that this game will prove definitively that Alabama is not ready to return to the ranks of national title contenders, our in-house fourth and goal model sees it a bit differently, picking Alabama to win by 31 points. Stats and Info, can you tell us why Alabama is favored to win by so much when they struggled horribly against South Florida last week?
Well, absolutely, sir. So where a lot of people can get confused with this is our model is a power rating system and not a ranking. So if you need some explanation to how this works, I highly recommend watching the fourth and goal model explanation video. Gives you some insight into what numbers we use in predicting games and rating teams, and just a better explanation for how this is going to work. So here, the model, it doesn't just look at how Alabama played like some hot dog water for 3/4 of the game. It looks at the full season. So, if you recall, Alabama's first game was against Western Kentucky, and they looked pretty good for all 4 quarters. And even against South Florida, though they did play like really terrible for the majority of the game, there was that fourth quarter where they did look really good. So, the model is seeing 5 quarters out of 8 where Alabama has played like a really good team, and then 3 quarters where they have played probably worse than I would have in any given football game, and I haven't eaten in a while. The model got the Notre Dame A&M game wrong, so according to my contract, that means I can't eat. So another year and no dinner for stats and info. But anyway, so 5 out of 8 quarters of good football. Let me run the numbers real quick. So the model is saying there's a 62.5% chance that Alabama is a really good team, and somewhere about a 37.5% chance that they are a terrible team. And so it's going to lean with the facts, or not the facts, excuse me, the probability that Alabama is a really good football team. Purely numbers driven stuff. And then on top of that, Wisconsin has not been putting up impressive statistics. Here they have a bottom 10 passing offense, bottom 25 rushing offense, bottom 33 pass defense, bottom 19 rushing defense. So looking like Wisconsin just is not going to be able to take advantage of any horrible offensive line play from Alabama, even if Alabama does have a bad game. So if you want the long and short of it, that's why our model is picking Alabama to absolutely beat the brakes off of Wisconsin.
We on fourth and goal are going to side with the model for this game. Sure, it'll be a lot of fun to watch for the first 3 quarters. Jalen Milroe will play like an absolute spaz in a road environment, but eventually Wisconsin's run defense will cave. And when it caves, it's gonna be ugly. This week's earliest big game actually starts on a Friday. Arizona is going to be headed to Kansas State in the battle of Big 12 title contenders. This game will have lasting effects on each team's playoff chances for the remainder of the year. These two offenses could not be more different going into this game. Arizona leads a high-powered passing attack led by quarterback Noah Fafita and wide receiver Teteroa McMillan, while Kansas State's quarterback Avery Johnson and their running back Dylan Edwards form a prolific rushing duo. While our model is giving Kansas State the edge here due to home field advantage, we here on fourth and goal think differently, since Kansas State is rated by our model as having the worst, you heard that right, the worst passing defense in the entire country. Like they let Tulane throw all of them. Like, what are you doing? Look for Arizona to win and, therefore cover because they're underdogs in this game that should be an absolute classic Big 12 barn burner. The final game we will be looking into this week comes between a Jekyll and Hyde South Carolina team that has both struggled to beat Old Dominion and absolutely pants Kentucky, and the LSU Bayou Bengals, who had the misfortune of running into a USC team that could finally play defense in their season opener. Williams-Brice Stadium should be absolutely rocking for this game, as game day will be in town to see whether or not South Carolina can truly put a dagger in LSU's playoff dreams far earlier than anyone imagined. LSU heads into this game at an extremely inopportune time, since their defense has just had to weather 2 games against offensive powerhouses USC and Nicholls State. Wait, Nicholls State? Seriously? Hang on, wait. How about that? LSU's defense is really bad this year. Conversely, South Carolina's defense might be pretty good. They are led by true freshman edge rusher Dylan Stewart, who is looking to pack a punch and throw down against one of the country's most talented offensive lines. So in a game where LSU is still struggling to figure their defense out, and Beamer Ball is still as unpredictable as ever, who's going to go home with the all-important win? Our model, shockingly, has South Carolina blowing out LSU by over 19 points. Despite this glaring red flag by the 4th and goal model, we are going to go against our better judgment and pick LSU to win comfortably by 2 scores. Because there's no way LSU loses to South Carolina, right? Right? That's all we've got for this episode, so here's to another fantastic slate of games.